Joseph family, from the Civil Farm Church, and from elsewhere. We just want to say, ask for your blessing upon them today, that you be a source of comfort, source of strength. And Lord, as we go through life, may we all go through it knowing, Lord, that you will beat us and that you will keep us safe in arms of love. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This afternoon, we welcome you again, and we have a very interesting topic for you. All our topics are very interesting, thought provoking, and some of the things you might say might cause some of you to be ill at ease with yourself. But look, it is truth nonetheless, and we just have to face the reality of truth. And here in Second Advent Radio, we delight in bringing you the truth. And the Bible says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Now, this afternoon, we want to look at the topic, food is more than meets the eye. And we want to remind us of our key text as we repeat every afternoon, Psalms 139, verse 14. I'll praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and my soul know it quite well. Now you may ask why we keep repeating this. Well, we're going to keep repeating it every week because we want folks to understand that you're not just here on your own. God created you for his glory. God created you for his happiness, and also he created you for your own happiness as well. And so we need to recognize that if we're going to be happy, we got to be in good health. And as the Bible says, beloved, I wish above all things that you be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So the whole idea here is for us to be in good health. And that's why the psalmist can say, I'll praise you because what? I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I want us to capture that in essence. And if we believe we're fearfully and wonderfully made, then we will be more responsible with our health. We will take care to cherish our health and to make sure that we live right, we get adequate rest, we drink adequate amount of water. Also, we make sure that we are not too stressed from job or family issue or from relationships. And also, we are free from disease. That's the bottom line. And so, if we are fearfully and wonderfully made, let us cherish that, and God will help us to do the best we can. Now, this afternoon we're going to talk about food is more than meets the eye. And sometimes you may be wondering, why do we keep emphasizing food? Why do we keep emphasizing certain things and not other things? Now, you're not going to hear much about disease. Yes, you're going to hear about it, but the emphasis is not on disease. It's on wealth and healthness, and showing you how the whole person comes together to create a synergy that will help us to be healthy, not only physically, but mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and physiologically. Healthy all around, holistically. And so that's why we emphasize certain things and repeat it all the time so you can understand that not only are you fearfully and wonderfully made, but if you're fearfully and wonderfully made, then you got to be careful in terms of how you treat your body. Your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost. God has brought you with a great price, so therefore you got to glorify God in your body and your spirit, which are God's. And so, as we talked about, food is more than meets the eye. As the new day dawn comes, in the healing art, nutrition is beginning to gain recognition as a particular important factor for holistic health and care. So as we look each day and as we begin to recognize these days that nutrition now is becoming something of vital importance to our well-being right now. And there are those who study nutrition, there are those who do dietetics, and they specialize in counseling and helping folks in terms of the right decision for the right foods, the right amount of vitamins and minerals that you need to ingest, and they're there to guide you to make sure that you make the right choices. So nutrition is becoming very important because, as I say, food is more than meets the eye. Food plays a vital role in our very survival. And so it's important for nutrition. As we said before, and we keep saying is that food is supposed to provide you with the nutrients you need, with the proper nutrition. And so if the food ain't doing that, then it means that you're going to be diminished in terms of your capability and your performance, right? Now, nutrition today, however, is quite incomplete, recognizing the calories, the vitamins, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the acids, the alkaline, raw or cooked food, and so forth, without considering that the evolved chemicals or biochemicals elements we may call we are called the dust of the earth, right? That's what we're made up of. We are frame on our body are made up from the dust of the earth. All right? And every part of our being, as the Bible says, from dust we are, and for dust we shall return at the end of our days. And so therefore, it's important for us to recognize that all these elements come together, our vitamins, our calories, they are the studies that are done to make sure that you have the right amount of calories, you're not overdoing with the calories, your vitamins are at the right proportion, the proteins are the right proportion, right? And you must also recognize too that the biochemical elements are important, right? It's important for you to recognize that these elements that are in the food, that is important to add life. So that's why I say food is more than meet the eye. You got to go further into it. So we must dig deeper, yes, into the true nature of food and what we are doing to ourselves with our injurious habits in food growing and preparing. So food is more than meet the eye. So we got to be important. Now, you may find me emphasizing these points for a while because there's a plan, there's a way I'm going. So follow me, my friends. There is a culture that prevails in the world today that food is food. The sad reality is not everything that is labeled food is food. To be quite honest, this is not to bash anybody, but there's some things that we call food. It's not really food because your food must add some nutrients to your body. That's what we keep on saying, right? It must add some nutrients to your body. Then the question is, what all foods are made of, or what is the composition of our food? Foods are made of the chemical elements like everything else on this planet, but special combination of them have distinctive functions in the body. So our food is made up of the chemical elements, as we said before, that are contained in the earth. And so therefore we must look deeply and examine these biochemicals that are so important, right? And to make sure that what we do in terms of our preparation, that these vital elements are not lost during the process of growth or during the process of getting the food from the field to our tables or to the manufacturing plants. All right? And as we said before, these are protein, these elements are protein, carbohydrates, fats, enzymes, vitamins, and minerals. All right? And so these things are important. All right? And we all know them. You need the carbohydrates, you need the fats, the protein, the enzymes, and so on. But you need them in the right proportion so that your body can adequately accommodate. You cannot overdo. That's why you are given a certain amount to take every day. They have worked on it for years, and so they have the international units. They have the daily recommended allowance. So You follow these things carefully, and you would not go wrong in terms of your quest to be in the best of health. Also, we want to look a little bit at the refining of food, and we're going to start with wheat. That is important. Now, the process and refining of many of our foods today effectively destroy the biochemical elements when they are altered from their natural state. Now, we said before, a week or two ago, is that the chemical elements that we need are the same chemical elements that is needed in the soil. And so, if our food is coming from the soil, it means therefore that the soil needs to be replenished with the necessary elements so that when we plant our food and we cultivate our farms, that we are planting our food in the best soil that there is. All right? We are planting our food in the best soil that there is. And we can't overemphasize that. Some folks may think, oh, look, this is like a stick record. No, it's not a stick record. It's what we need to hear. Right? We need to understand that our bodies become diseased and injurious because of the fact that we are eating food that is not really food. We call it food, not really food. It looks like food, it tastes like food, but it's not really food because it lacks the vital elements that should be in the food. And as we go through our sessions from time to time, we're going to come specifically and to show you what we're talking about in terms of the whole issue of managing and portion size and all this stuff. It comes to play. And also we will discover the issue of labeling, known to with labels and all this stuff that will help you to identify what's in the package that you're buying, what's in the food you're consuming, and you can make the right choice to know that, look, am I going to be safe with what is in this, the ingredients? Look at the content. But the sad reality is most people, you go to the supermarket and you just pick up and put in a bag. You don't look to see, you don't think because like, okay, I don't have the time. Food is food. Food is more than meets the eye. Food is just not food. Okay? Want to emphasize that. Now, it says man has changed his food through milling, polishing, processing, bleaching, preserving, canning, seasoning, flavoring, and coloring. Wow. This is what's happening there? We have altered the food through the process of milling, through the process of polishing. Imagine you're getting polished food. Yeah, you get some rice that are polished. Yeah, you get pastas that are polished. And they're polished because of the natural look of this product is not there. So they got to add things to make it look like it's the real stuff. All right? And then you have bleaching. Yeah. They add bleach to stuff. Then the question is, how do we eat this stuff? How does these things help us? It doesn't. All right? And then, of course, you have the process of preserving. Now, everything that is put in a package to preserve it is for one purpose only. Now. It's not so much for the nutritional value, but for shelf life. Yeah, it's for shelf life. It has a shelf life of 3 months, 2 months, couple days. So you find that the foods that you have now, that they have preservatives, they have chemicals in them to preserve them. And some of these chemicals you cannot call the names, you can't understand because what? It's not meant for you to understand. And so they put these ingredients there and they say we have to preserve it. Yeah. So that's why you find after a while there's certain packages, if you're not in the right temperature, they start to breed what you call it now? I'm trying to find the word Weber and all this kind of stuff. You find it in them because what it reaches a point where it's no longer useful, and so it's not useful for human consumption, but it is useful for these little creatures like the um, Weber and all this stuff that you find in your flour, your cornmeal, or in other flour products. Yes, and if you even popcorn and rice and so forth, if they stay there for a long while in an environment that is not conducive, you'll find that they start to breed these things and so forth, breed and so forth. And then you have canning. Now, during the canning process, they use chemicals to seal the cans, and they use different kind of stuff to preserve it. Now, something use salt. Yeah, salt is one of the main preservatives they use to preserve food, especially meat products. And some people don't can it, but they corn it, where they cut up the meat and they throw a lot of salt in it and they hang it up in some place so it still didn't get dry and it wouldn't spoil, but it gets salt. All right. And then, of course, the canning process is also very challenging because the what they use to seal the cans inside the can, there's a little coating inside the can, and that coating, it is if it's not done properly now, when you open that can to throw out with beans or whatever, you will find that there are elements of the metal that will gather on top. So it's always good to get a spoon to skim that off. Of course, some of it may get away inside the food itself, but that metal thing there too could be a problem. It could be a slowly affecting us negatively because nothing comes by chance. And sometimes we get disease, we get sick, and it's not a sudden thing, it's a gradual process. It's just that you start to feel the pains and discomfort when the thing would have reached a certain level, even though you didn't know, right? And sometimes our body speaks to us, but we don't listen. And when we don't listen to our bodies, we suffer. All right? And we look back and we say, Lord, how could I have done this thing to my body? And so you have all this stuff, the canning and seasoning, yeah, and the flavorings and the coloring. Now today you find that a lot of folks will go to the supermarket and they're looking for colors, yeah. Let's say color tracks, yes. Variety, the spice, yes, nothing wrong with that. And you have colors and you have flavorings, you have food enhancers. These are what I call food enhancers. And there's a big word that I always use. It's called excitotoxins. Now, these things are placed there to preserve the food. They are colorings to make it look attractive, and they put fizzer in the stuff. They carbonated beverages. They put all this stuff there, a certain amount of acids, certain amount of stabilizers to keep things in check for a while. But the truth of the matter is, nothing lasts forever. And so you find that even though these things are put there, they're put there to preserve and for the food to last longer, but the longer it stays there in that condition, is the more it's losing its potency or it's losing what it needs to have to create the synergy when it is digested in the body, ingested in the body. And so all these things and the refining process also do a lot of harm to food. A lot of people don't know that. But the truth of the matter is everything should be milled in its natural form. Right? But some years ago, the French, they felt, well, oils were not stretching long enough and they run out of oils very quickly. So what they do? They come with the bright idea that they're going to heat the oil. When you heat it, it expands. It gets more. But then the heating does what? The heating takes out the natural elements that you need. The elements you need to help you, those are taken out. So when you use that thing now, the elements you need is not there. So you're not really getting what you should get from a particular product. Why? Because the enzymes and the nutrition value and whatever you need was lost during the refining process. So we got to be careful to make sure that we do not over process our food. Yeah, we do not over process the food, because over processing is mean that you use heat, and even sometimes too cold, and sometimes the other issues that come to play. And we got to be careful in terms of how much we beat the life out of the food, if you want to call it that way. All right. Now, in the refining and processing of wheat, for example, the vital life elements are destroyed. The starchy part of the wheat remains void of the minerals and vitamin balance needed for proper heart action, body regularity, and other body function. So we're just using wheat as an example, right? And you know that the byproducts of wheat is flour. And you can get either white or brown flour. Now, what do you get from white flour? Now, white flour is basically bleach, right? They bleach it out to the point where it's white. Now, there is no nutritional value in white flour. I know folks might not too happy with this, but the truth is the truth. There is no nutritional value in white flour. They might fortify it with certain things, with calcium and vitamins and other stuff, by adding stuff to it, yes, and say, well, it is fortified. But during the processing of it now, the real elements that we need, they are lost sight of, because of the way the food is processed, or the wheat is processed. Not only that, but a study was done some years ago, and what was discovered that farmers do their best now to produce the best farm and the best wheat, yes. But what do they do with that superior wheat? That superior wheat does not come to us for human consumption. That superior wheat now goes to mills to make feed for animals. Yeah, it might sound surprised, but what happened now? They're trying to render the animal of importance so it can be eaten. Now, if they don't do that, most of the animals and farms and so on, they're going to die. Because what? Over the years, because of soil depletion, as we discover, animals can't get to eat well enough. And if you know, Fairland of Antigua here in the Caribbean, you find there's some islands who experience a drought situation, and it's so bad that the cows can't get any green grass to eat. So they got to import special food, and they got to cut the grass that is dried, and they take them to a place where they process them now, mix them with different stuff to give the cows and the goat and the cow and the donkeys and the horses and so on. They give them these things now so that they can have some level of nutrients in them, so that we could eat them at the end of the day. That's what it's all about. All right? So, what we get now, the wheat we get now, is not the real wheat. It's, as we say, the starchy part of it that stays back, but all the good part of the wheat is gone. All right? Because of how it is processed. Now, it is bad enough when the wheat flour is substandard, but when you come to white flour, this is what you call bad food. White flour has nothing of nutrition. As a matter of fact, what it does, it creates more problem for your stomach, and it also creates problem for the bowels. It causes constipation. I don't know if you ever saw the experiment where you mix flour with water, and then you put your finger in it and you try to take it out, and you notice how sticky it is. Yeah, that's what happens when it gets into the body. That's why we get constipated. Simple elementary stuff. We get constipated because what we using doesn't have the nutritional value. Now, when you eat flour products, the flour products supposed to have grains in it. Yeah, grains in it and fiber. So when you eat these things now, these things help to move this stuff along the digestive tract out into the bowels and so on. And when they move these things, now it means therefore that you have what I call regularity in terms of bowel movement. You will be crying for constipation and heartburn because what? The food you're eating is clean your system as it goes through. Right? And we discovered that one of the ill effects of over refined food, especially white flour, is because of the fact that there's nothing in this white flour to help clean out the system. What it does more to clog the system than it clean it out. It's like a glue. All right? Now, we move from the wheat now, we're going to look at sugar. Yeah, I know a lot of folks like white sugar, and there's some folks who can't cook without white sugar. They think the brown sugar is not good enough. It doesn't allow the drink to taste as well. Or if you use white sugar, or they don't like to see the color of it, so you find they use, but just like the white flour, the white sugar is more of a poison than anything else. Because again, yeah, it come from the sugar cane, yes, just like the beet sugar and so forth come from beet. But the processing of it now, the process to the point now where it becomes white crystals crush up fine. And so this is what we use for sweetening our food and so forth and so forth, right? But this is bleached out sugar. Real sugar is not white, it is dark. And you could ask anybody who work in the sugar manufacturing department. That's why you have brown sugar. That's the natural color of sugar, right? But when it comes to the white sugar now, this is something that has been bleached out, right? And the fact that it is bleached out, the process of bleaching it now, it has taken out all the nutritional value from the white sugar, right? That's why it's important for us to recognize that food is more than meets the eye. It is something greater. I know some of you may feel it's been comfortable, but that's all right. All of us feel that way when we have to alter or change our lifestyle. It's a fact of life. If you want to have the best in health, then you have to look at what you eat. If you don't want your body to be diseased, then you have to take a serious look at what you eat and how what you eat, how is it being prepared? Was it heat processed? Was it cold pressed? Especially for the oils, how was the oil made? You see, oils that are heated, when it gets cool, it solidifies. That's why you find now they have these big boxes of butter or lard that they put in deep fries to fry the chicken and anything else. Where that thing heats up and it melts down into liquid form. By the time it gets cold or back to body temperature, it solidifies. When it gets into our system now over time now, it also solidifies and clog up our arteries and other stuff, and then we have to do major work to get it out. Right? But we can avoid that if we are careful now to make sure that the foods we eat are not over processed food. Okay? Now the body needs nutrition. And the process of getting the sugar is not the best. And so it has detrimental effects. Right? So we're going to look a bit at the white sugar and why is it that we need to stay far from the white sugar. One reason why we need to stay far from it because it promotes tooth decay. Yeah? It promotes tooth decay. It leaches calcium from the body so that the delicate balance between calcium and phosphorus is destroyed. It causes deficiency in vitamin B. So when you use too much sugar or you use white sugar, it weakens your immune system. It robs you of vital vitamins that you need. And so one has to be careful to keep away from the white sugar. It's not good. And the scientists has proven that over the years that white sugar is not good. Even brown sugar is still not good. You may ask, what is good? Honey. You can use some honey and other natural stuff to sweeten whatever, molasses and so on. But the white sugar is deadly. If you have to use sugar, use some brown one, but use it sparingly. And I said the word sparingly. But if at all you can do without it, then leave it out. It will cause you to be in better health. It will cause you to feel better. And when there are issues going around, you would not succumb so easy to disease and viruses. And why? Because your immune system is at a peak. Now, people only get sick when the immune system crashes. They pick up everything, and that's the situation. So if you can keep your immune system in a top shape, then you're in good stead. All right? Then it says that vitamin B must be present in the alimentary canal for sugar to be digested. All right? So the vitamin B is important for digestion of the sugars. All right? But because the vitamin B normally present in sugar have been removed in the refining process, again, we come back to the refining process, the digestive organs must draw the needed B vitamin from other areas of the body. The result is a deficiency which may lead to nervous problems, nervous breakdown, and mental illness. Such deficiencies may also lead to heart problems, constipation, mouth and skin disorder, and in the extreme, beriberi and pellagra. Right? So these are some of the ill effects of consuming white sugar. All right? So we need to recognize that this white sugar could cause you a lot of health issues. But you may think, well, oh, I'm accustomed with it. That's what I grew up with, and we use that to sweeten everything, and the brown sugar make things look bad. Well, you shouldn't even use the brown sugar. But we're saying if you have to, then you can do a moderate thing with the brown sugar. But when it comes to the white, you see the ill effects of white sugar? I'm just saying it. Check it out with your doctor. Check it with your healthcare provider. It robs you of your vitamin Bs, right? It's called deficiencies, and you can have heart problems. You can have nervous problems. You can have weakness in the body, in your limbs, or because of consuming the white sugar. Okay? Now, our bodies do not thrive on junk food. That may surprise many of you. Junk means junk. And what is junk? Things that they put on a dump heap. Junk food are those foods that are high in fat, right? High in fat, and certain oils that are not good. And not only that, but added to the oils, they're heavily spicy, yeah, and different things, as I say, to food enhancers to enhance the taste and to make sure that you go back and buy more all the time. You see, they produce stuff in a way to attract us. Yeah? They study us. They see our eating habits and they provide us with the food based on our habits. Because what they're in the business of making money. The bottom line is money. And so their goods must turn over. So they're asking children, they're interviewing children, they're interviewing adults, they're interviewing youths and so on as to what they like, what they prefer to see. They like colors, they like certain kind of taste, etc., etc. And so you find food is produced based on our liking and not necessarily based on the nutritional value that it gives. All right? And so we need to understand that food is not just to be manufactured just to our liking, but it must be manufactured or processed for our nutritional value. I wanted to get that point. If you look at most restaurants and barbecue stalls and so forth, where people produce food, you discover that the customer is always asking for what he or she wants. And the person who is doing the catering now, they just comply. Because what? They're getting paid. And some folks couldn't care less about the nutritional value. They're just selling you. Because It's something that people like, they go for it. So whether it's good or bad, who cares? It's money. Right? And so we have to recognize that, as you said, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if we're carefully and wonderfully made, we're going to be careful in terms of how we plan. We're going to be careful in how we go about choosing, how we go about getting the right stuff so that it can help to not only heal, but to build a body, etc., etc. Right? So we should further note that sugars are often highly concentrated in foods, particularly candies, to such a degree that our taste buds are unable to warn us to stop eating them. In other words, one author says that our appetites have become perverted, so we can no longer appreciate food in its natural state. It doesn't taste like what we want. We like the sugars, we like the sweets, we like the salts, the peppers. These are what attract us when it comes to food. Some folks can't eat with hot pepper. Some folks can't use zero sugar, etc. All right? And these things are what we call junk food. Things that are overladen with sugar is junk food. Or chips, yeah, a lot of salt and pepper and different kind of flavorings on the chip. These are just there to attract us, but they have no nutritional value to the body. All right? You want to keep that in mind. Also, continuing to eat sugar-filled foods reduces hunger for proper food. In other words, then, because you keep on feasting on sugar food now, it deprives you of the taste for what is better or what is best. And so whatever you feed your mind on, just like reading a book, if you decide to read a lot of Quinn and all these kind of novels and romance novels and People magazine and all the kind of stuff, this is what you feed your mind on, then the mind is going to always crave for that. So if somebody brings you a Bible or somebody health book to read now, you find that there is not the inclination, you're not motivated to accept it. Why? Because you have no taste for it. All right? That's why a lot of people go around now, they have taste for things that are not good. Just imagine there's some folks who will prefer to eat something that tastes nice to them, even though it doesn't have nutritional value. They just want and they crave for it. When you look at how people shop these days, most things that are not good, that's what we buy in abundance. Why? Because our taste buds have become perverted, so we can't have an appreciation for what is good. Right? We can't have an appreciation for what is good. And so we're here to educate you, to let you know that yes, there's a better way. It may be a little challenging at first, but if you take it step by step, you're going to make it one day to be the best you can be in the best of health. Now, there are folks who say, well, look, it's nothing good for you to say things on the radio or even lecture in church or elsewhere about proper nutrition and food preparation, but who has the time? But if you don't make the time, who else is going to make the time? If you don't make the time for health, who is going to make it? You got to make time for your own health. You got to find a way to balance your time, balance your activities, and to make sure you cook a balanced meal. It's all about you. You control your health, nobody else. So if you don't take the time to plant a backyard or go to the supermarket, get some package of beans, different kind of beans, and you make your protein from these stuff. If you don't do that, then you're always going to the deli to pick up chicken or fish or meat, whatever. But we got to learn to recognize that we got to take time for ourselves. We got to take time to prepare food that our bodies can adopt, food that will add value, nutrition value, and help to our bodies. Also, my friends, I want you to understand that we're here to help you. We're here to guide you spiritually and physically and mentally. We're here to help you health-wise. You know, one of my favorite authors said that God gave us these special messages for one purpose, to prepare us as his people to meet him. You see, God wants us to be in the best of health. You see, God doesn't want sickly people in heaven. No sickly person is going to be there. All healthy people is a perfect environment. So we have to start to cultivate the habit of living a pure, holy life now. Because you cannot go to heaven to kill the Lord lambs over there. No. The lambs are going to lie down with the saints, not for you to kill them. The goat, the sheep, and all the animals that you eat now that God permits us to eat, you're going to find them in heaven, but there'll be no butchers up there. There'll be no knives up there. There'll be no guns up there. So the animals will be free to roam. God will provide for them, and God will provide for man as well. That's why we serve a great God, and that's why the psalmist David says, I praise thee, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, we're going to get into deeper waters when it comes to food, yes? And you're going to see the alternative that you can move with, yes? We're not going to just tell you this is bad, but we're going to show you how you can do something better, right? But that's going to come across in subsequent broadcasts. But we are still here laying the foundation, because when we get into disease and what causes deficiency in certain things, and when you're deficient in vitamin B, what happens? When you're deficient in vitamin C or D, what happens? In vitamin K, what happens in vitamin E? Then we're going to go into some good stuff and some deep stuff, so you can see the correlation between vitamin B and some other diseases that occur in the body, right? And so we look forward for the time in the future. But for now, we just want to give you an introduction and to let you focus on why we're really here. Why is it that there's so much emphasis? Because what? We have not followed the biblical guideline to preserve the environment, one, to preserve the soil, two, so that when we put seeds in the ground and they start to absorb the nutrients now, you find that because there might be a depletion of that particular nutrient in the body, you find out some parts of the body start to get sick and you have pain, discomfort. Why? Because your body is deficient in these things. And so, my friends, we have to learn to take time to eat, take time to do what's best, look at what we're eating, read the labels, and to make sure that we're understanding correctly how we ought to conduct ourselves when it comes to the food that we eat. Right? Now, there's something called chemical additives. It's used to be possible to drink a glass of milk knowing it was pure raw milk straight from the cow. Yes, I remember those days when we used to be small growing up, we used to milk the cows, and you milk a bale or a bucket of milk, you take it home, you put it on the fire, and you scald it, as I say. You allow it to boil up 3 times, don't boil over. And after those 3 times it's boiling up now, we take it out, put it aside, and we could mix it with cocoa and spices and so on to make a nice drink, especially on Sunday morning. Or what we didn't consume, we put it in the fridge. And then I tell you, it is very nice drinking that from the fridge, cold and nice. But what's the challenge? The challenge for us is that we no longer have pure milk. Because you see, we feed the cow with so much additives so that it can have a superior life. So when the cow gives the milk now, it is given a milk that is deficient in the minerals and vitamins that the calf needs. Right? And so one has to be careful now in terms of how he or she balances what to do. All right? If you taste most milk these days, it's not pure milk. Some of these milks are manufactured purely from chemical additives. Why? Because so many farms are going bankrupt, so much of the animals are dying out. So the question is, if all these things are dying out, how come they get milk still from some places? Why? They're doing something else different. Because the world over, animals are no longer producing the adequate amount of milk they need. And when it produces now, it doesn't have the required nutrients. And even though they say breast is best, yes, I believe that, the truth of the matter is, If the mother is eating food that is deficient in minerals and all those kind of stuff, she's going to pass it on to the unborn child. And vice versa. When the child is born and the child is getting sucked now, the same mother's milk that is of a not too good nature, the child is ingesting it. So whatever is in that milk is being passed on, or the lack thereof is being passed on to that child who is nursing at that point in time. So we got to be careful. Also says we buy fruits grown without pesticides and chemical fertilizers. Today, those of us who do farming and so on recognize the challenges that we face in terms of preserving a crop from worm and mildew and lice and all kinds of the vermins. I mean, when I do farming, sometimes it's amazing that you just see a leaf curling up all the time, and by the time you take a leaf off and you examine it carefully now, it's like a white things they call feelers or something, and these things can destroy your crop in no time. And so, to preserve the crop and allow the crop to look green and nice and lush, we have to spray them with poisonous substance. And sometimes when these things get into our system now, it makes us sick. And sometimes we wonder why is it we're feeling sick because of the fact that we have ingested stuff that are not good for us. It doesn't add any value. And so we have to be careful in terms of how we eat, what we do. We can't overemphasize that, but we got to be careful in terms of how we eat, how we take ourselves, how much we rest, yeah, how much water we drink, so that our kidneys can continue to function well. You don't want to reach to the point where you go to the doctor and doctor say you have renal failure. That's not good news. That is the worst news, right? Because renal failure means that your kidneys are no more functioning, and it means therefore that you have to be on dialysis. And I've known of people on dialysis, and trust me, it's not a very good feeling, right? And so to avoid all this, we must eat right. We must do what God says. And as it says in Exodus 15:26, if we hearken diligently unto his laws and statutes and my commandments, he says, I will not put any of these diseases upon you which are put on the Egyptian. So God is saying, look, you obey my laws and my rules, then you'll be safe health wise. Yes, the devil try a thing or two, but you will stay focused on what God has called you to do. And so, my friends, our time is fast going. It's gone. We want to thank you for joining us today on Second Advent Radio as we discuss food is more than meets the eye. We're happy to share with you our knowledge, and we want to thank you for joining us today. We hope you did enjoy. We know we have taken your mind a bit. We know you are wondering, oh Lord, should I put the sugar down? Should I keep it up? Let me tell you, folks, take your time, pray about it, ask God to lead the way, ask God to show you what to do, and my God, who never fails, will show you the right way. You got to just trust him and to be patient with him. So God bless you today. Glad to have you. And if you want more information us, check us on Second Advent Radio at gmail.org or .com. Also, you could call us at Second Advent Radio 562-1015, or you could go online and look us up there. Or if you want to talk to me personally, my number is 781-2658, 781-2658. We can have a conversation, we can have a dialogue as we communicate and as we share and as we try to work with you so that you can be in the best of health. And then you can say like the psalmist David, I'll praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and my soul knew it quite well. God bless you. See you again, not next week, but see you in June, because we're going to some evangelistic meeting as of next weekend. And so next weekend we all focusing on the keys to happiness evangelistic series. So make sure that you get the invitation, invite a friend, and let's come on down to wherever location you're going to be, and let's all hear a word from God, and let us all prepare ourselves to meet God in peace when he shall come.
Thank you for listening.